Hello and welcome to another 3-string cigar box guitar lesson. I'm Sean from Coda Guitar and we're continuing with our classic rock flat picking. So great tune this one, ACDC, You Shook Me All Night Long. Little bit more difficult than the other two, but it's still definitely achievable if you've been playing for a little bit of time. So this is also in the correct key. So as soon as you got this down, you can play along with the original track for as long as you want. But just before we get on to learning the song, let's see if we're in tune. So we've got low G, middle D, and high G. Okay, so as with like standard cigar box guitar tuning, this is a G, open G power chord, D, G, D. So great for rock, just because power chords work really well with distortion. So the whole thing's based around G, it's in the key of G, so it's absolutely ideal for this tuning. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at playing the verse and the chorus in this, so it's the main bulk of the song, and then I'll have a little go over the intro and a couple of other parts in another video, just so it's not too long. So going straight into the main riff, as with a lot of ACDC tunes, there's sort of big guitar sound and silence. So there's a bit of muting there. Okay. So we can just literally start with an open G, and then the second chords, what I'll do is I'll go around just how to actually play all the chords, and then we'll look at the timing and a few other bits afterwards. So the second chord's called a C add 9, and that's basically a C chord, so it would normally just be a standard bar on fret 5. If you're not quite sure about how to play bars, if you have a look at one of the previous flat picking classic rock videos on Sunshine You Love, going around that in more detail there. But it's a standard bar on fret 5, but then we're going to add an extra D note on top. So that would be fret 7 on the high G string. Okay, so you can either use your third or your fourth finger, it's entirely up to you, whatever feels comfortable. Make sure your thumb is directly behind your bar, getting a good squeeze down there. So we've got open G, and then we've got this C add 9, however you want to fret this high note. We're going to strum that twice, and then instead of dropping down to open G again, we can play a different G. So that is open low string. Now the reason why we're doing this is because we can let this high D ring out. It works quite nicely for the riff. So we keep whichever fingers fretting this high D on fret 7, and basically the bar just changes from the first finger changes from barring to going onto the middle string, the D string on fret 5, and that gives us a G power chord, another G power chord. So we've got two C's, and we're just going backwards and forwards in between the G and the C. So I'll just do that again. So we've got open, and then we've got the C add 9, and then different G power chord, back to the C add 9, back to the second G power chord, and then we're going to a D. This is also a D power chord. It's a slightly different shape. So we've got there's a D, and there's a couple of A notes. So that's just the sort of easiest way of playing a D on in this particular tuning on 3 strings. So we've got G, C twice, G, C, G, D. And then I'm going to go back to the open G. It's a nice strong sounding chord. And then I'm going to go up, so that's a D power chord. This is also a D power chord. We've kind of swapped the notes around, so we've now got D, A, D. So that was A, D, A. We've now got D, A, D. So we've got open, G, D power chord, D5, G, D, and then start again. Relatively simple that. So we've got open, 2, 3, 4, C add 9, twice, different G, backwards and forwards, low D power chord, open G twice, high D power chord, G, D, and start again. Okay, so as long as you've got your barring down, that should be fairly straightforward. How to maybe get a bit of separation, so you've got a bit of silence there. So probably the cleanest way is to just do a little sort of flip over and use like little sort of karate chop, little sort of covering of 3 strings with the side of your palm next to your little finger. So I'm going G, a little mute, and then I'll let the 2 C's ring out, and then G. I might do a quick mute after the G and the next C. So I've got mute, not muted, I might mute, but then don't mute here because it's G, D quickly, but mute after the D. So you've got mute, not muting, mute, mute, not muting, but after the D. And then I'll let the 2 G's ring over, but I'll mute that high D, I'll mute that low one, and that final high one again. So the second part, go mute, 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 mute. It just makes it like a little bit more punchy, basically, a little bit more catchy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mute. 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 And by far the best thing to do is just like listen to the track and have a listen to what he's doing on the on the sort of main rhythm guitar, just to see what's going on, because some of those last for slightly longer than others. But to be honest, if you listen and copy, that's probably the best thing. As with the other 2 tunes we've done, great chord progression, G, C, D. Works, been in probably millions of different songs, works really well. But what also makes it catchy is the sort of rhythmical placement of all of the chords. The ACDC got a good sort of ability of creating chord sequences that actually sound like riffs. as much as, you know, sort of strumming away. So it's just off and on beat notes in exactly the same way as we were talking about with Sunshiny Love and 20th Century Boy. You start on the beat, 2, 3, 4, off, off, on, off, on, off, on. So you're just constantly flipping between on and off beats. And if you remember, 4 beats in a bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, off, in, between. So if you're exactly in between the beats, the foot taps, then that gives you the off beats basically. And again, as I was just explaining with the mutes, listen to the track and just try and just without thinking too much, just try and copy the rhythm. You know, listen and copy, listen and repeat. But if that's a bit difficult, if it's difficult to hear the exact sort of placement, then we would count 1 and 2 and. So we'd count the off beats as ands. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 2. I'll do that again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4. So the rhythm's very, very similar in the second half. So go around that. Get used to that. Hopefully that'll be fine. I was also mentioning in the previous 2 songs that you can use like a speed changer apps. Really good. Use these all the time in like Skype lessons, face-to-face lessons with students. 3 strings, 6 strings works really well. So Android, there's one called Music Speed Changer. Apple iPhone Audio Speed Changer. They're both free. They work really well. And if you get like a sort of physical digital copy, like an MP3, if you put it on your phone, or if you have it on like sort of cloud storage, like Dropbox or Google Drive or something, then you can open it up in these applications and slow the track down. Because the original is about 120, so it's all right. It's sort of moderate rock, but unless you've been, you know, playing for a while, you might find it a bit quick initially. So slow it down somewhere around 70%, 75%, and then get it in time, build it up from there. But what we do is there's the intro, which I'm not covering until the second video, and then it's twice around this chord sequence. Still as the intro, no vocals at this point, so it's almost like a pre-verse before the verse twice. And then we keep playing these exact same chords, this riff. Verse comes in, vocals start, and it's 4 times round, but the 4th time is just slightly different. We basically... We basically do like a build, again, classic ACDC, build into the chorus, works really well. So we don't finish the riff off, we don't play the full riff. So what we do is we play 1, 2, 3, 4, all the same. We do something like that. So the first time we hit this D down here, let it ring out, and then do a bit of chugging, which is palm muting, downstrokes, half beats, you know, sort of driving it along. And again, you know, I'm sure you've heard that sort of thing on countless rock tunes. So it's D and 2, 3, 4, and this particular one up here, we could class that as like a D sus4. So it's a really common chord that's played on sort of 6-string. Works really well. It's basically it's a D chord with a G note added in, and it just gives it a nice suspended sound. A bit like the C add 9. That's got a nice suspended sound, and so there's the G. And then we can eventually finish off back on a higher D, so back on that bar on fret 7. So we start here on this low D5, call that a D sus4, and then up to the straight bar. And again, you can use fingers 1, 2 and 3 here, or you can use 1, 3 and 4. And so I just dropped on with 1, 2 and 3, but I was on fret 7 of the low string, fret 5 of the middle, fret 7 of the top. So that's just D, G, D. Or finger 3, if that's a bit of a stretch. Finger 1, finger 4. Same notes, just different position. And the only thing to think about here is trying to get a bridge, because if you're too flat, you'll catch this middle string with whichever finger is playing the top one. The note that's physically at the top. And so the timing on that is you're coming into the D on the offbeat, and you come into the D sus4 on the offbeat, and then we finish back on the beat on this high D power chord. So that final 4th time round would be 1, 2, 3, 4, off, on, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4. So offbeat, let it ring over, offbeat, let it ring over, and then pick up the strumming again on both of them. So it sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Off, on, off. 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. Okay, and palm muting. If again, please have a look at the particularly the Sunshiny Love video lesson, which covers that extensively, but it's just muffling the sound basically. It really kind of like sort of dampens it, but gives it a nice nice sort of bouncy sound, and with downstrokes you just get that classic rock sort of rhythm playing sound. So that was the 4th time round the verse, and then the chorus starts on G, and I'm gonna play the bass on its own and then strum through these two. Now I suppose we've been doing a lot of strumming really of chords. We haven't needed to be so careful up to this point. So, and again, I was talking in the Sunshiny Love about different ways of picking and strumming. So strumming is very much a kind of elbow movement. So your elbow is like flicking your wrist round, so it's quite loose. It's like sort of flicking water off your fingers. But picking, particularly if you're palm muting, sometimes like resting on the bridge can work quite well. There's another way of playing where if we're, say, having to play single notes from chords, so what we're doing is we're picking each string just once and moving straight onto the next one. You can sometimes, quite a lot of guitarists do this, you can actually anchor rest your little finger just on the body of the guitar, on the box, just underneath the string. That gives you a good gives you a good sort of position to be able to pick like vertically like that. So I'll get onto this, but bear that in mind, that picking position might work. So we've got bass, strum, and then we're doing a little step up through the bass, and we're going. So that's on the low string, frets 2 and 4. I'm going to use fingers 1 and 3, and then I'm going to do an overlap with my first finger onto the bar. So bar, and then I'm going to use my little finger here on this, it's a C add 9, the same as the verse, because I'm going to drop the bass down, and if I can let this ring through, it just has more of the character of the song, because instead of strumming the chords, we're now picking the separate notes, but we still want them to sound like chords, so we want the notes to ring through without without being sort of separated. And again, yeah, it really sort of fills the sound out when you crank your amp a little bit. So we've got bass, strum, fret 2, fret 4, jump over onto the bar, and then we play fret 5, and then fret 7 on the top string. And then I'm going to keep my little finger where it is, get rid of the bar, drop that onto fret 4 of the bass string, second finger moves onto the fret 5 where the first finger was, and you pick through. So, and then D, low D power chord again, and I'll do a bass, strum. So it's a bass, strum on the G, step up through the bass, pick through the C add 9, that has a B in the bass. It's a type of G chord, this now, it's called G over B, and then that's a D power chord, C add 9, that's the B in the bass, that's the D power chord, and then we step up through the bass again, except complete repeat, back to the C add 9, with the B in the bass, and then, sorry, do two bass drums at the end, bass, bass, and then we just completely loop it, just completely repeat that chorus cycle again. So we've got bass, strum, step up through the bass, frets 2 and 4, C add 9, B in the bass, there's the D power chord, step up again to C add 9, there's the B in the bass, 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 strum the open G again. Alright. So with the picking across the chords, sometimes going down, down, up, that really helps. You send you on your way through the strings. One thing I didn't mention in the previous two, don't look at your picking. Really important. I'm always banging on about this with, like, face-to-face Skype lessons. Don't look at your picking. Get your hand in position so it feels comfortable. Find the strings. If you make a mistake, correct it without looking, because it's so easy to get into habits of constantly looking down here. You don't see any professional guitarists looking down at their picking hand. So unless they're doing some crazy 80s hair metal tapping or something like that. So yeah, don't just get used to playing without looking, and this really helps send you on your way, because you're picking in the direction of the next string. So that one's underneath, so it's a down, down, up, down, down, up, down. So if you pick like that on these middle two chords, sorry, onto the D chord. So the first time, the first chorus, you just basically do that twice. It's quite short. So it would sound like this. Start again, just repeat. And the timing is 1, 2, 3, coming on the off beats. That's off, off, off. So you kind of jump in early on the off beats with those 3 bass notes on the beat. Off, off, on, off, off, on, off, off, on, off beat, off, on, off, off, on, off. Start again. And again, listen to the track. Once you got that sequence, it should be quite easy if you listen to the track. Ideally, try and play along with it as well. So yeah, I hope that's useful. Go around those 2 parts. That's the main bulk of the song, and we'll look at the intro and maybe the sort of second chorus leading into the solo. We're not doing full Angus Young on 3 strings. We're going to do Malcolm Young rhythm parts instead, but the solo rhythm parts are just slightly different to what you do for the rest of it. So I hope that's useful. Have fun. Bit of a break from the serious work of the 3-string blues fingerstyle stuff. So good to be versatile. I use reasonably thick picks. This is like 1.4, but anything over 1 millimetre is quite good for picking and strumming. And I look forward to seeing you here again soon on Coda Guitar.